Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today I'm going to talk about one of those one-shot wonders of Baroque music. The one-shot wonder in question is Jean-Féry Goebel, French Baroquist, who lived from 1666 to 1747. He had a long life and he wrote a lot of music. But the only thing we care about today is his suite Les Elémens, the Elements. Now, this first popped into our notice, not on this recording. This is Reinhard Goebel with Musica, Antiqua, Köln, which I love. It first popped up with Christopher Hogwood and the Academy of Ancient Music on L'Oiseau Lyre, but go and find that recording. I don't know where it is. It's, this one you may have a slightly better chance. It doesn't matter. You get one or the other, but this is the one I happen to have sitting here, and it is definitely one of my favorites for the other things on it as well, which are the Telemann Septet in E minor and Gluck's ballet Alessandro, which is marvelous, and nobody really knows the Gluck ballets. There are three of them at least. I mean, there's Alessandro, there's Don Juan, there's Semiramide or Semiramis, and there's another one, I think. But anyway, they're short, 20-some-odd minute dance pieces, and they're lots of fun to hear. But the Elements, holy mackerel! The first time I heard that, everybody goes. I went. You will go. Believe me. Why? Because the first movement begins with this atonal scream chord that's called Le Chaos. The rest of it, after Le Chaos, is fairly standard French dance music. It's charming. I mean, you've got nightingales and dance things, and it's delightful. But the opening overture, which is like 6 minutes of music, is supposed to represent the separation of the four elements, earth, air, fire, and water, which are given particular instrumental characterizations, and they emerge out of chaos. And chaos is just this dissonant chord. It's like going on the piano and like bwang on the whole keyboard. It's a nasty atonal thing. And to hear that in Baroque music was kind of cool. And you don't just hear it once, it comes back over and over again as each element pops up, and they're vying with chaos to try and distinguish themselves and create order, which of course happens in the end. And sometimes you kind of wish the chaos would win, but it doesn't. It can't in this particular scheme of aesthetics, sadly as it might be. But that opening, there's this horrible chord, and then it grinds. It goes grung, 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 grung. It sounds like Jaws, or The Rite of Spring, only it was written in like 1730. It's really, really cool. And I mean, Goebel, I said he's a one-shot wonder. That's what he's known for. I mean, he's still not known. Most people don't know this music at all. And it's really a shame because it's really, really special. It's only been recorded a few times. I guess maybe by now 4 or 5 times. And there are other works by Goebel which have finally come out. The French Baroque is not nearly as well known as the Italian Baroque. In the Italian Baroque, we have Vivaldi, and then we have all the Ellies, Corelli, Torelli, and the Anis, Geminiani, and Spumani, and Spumoni, and Tortelli, and, the Italian Baroque guys generally are pretty well covered. And mostly because they wrote concertos. So there are soloists who want to play the stuff. That was the Italian form. The French people wrote overtures. And the overtures are and it's an overture. It's a French overture usually, which is like a march followed by a fugal contrapuntal thing, and then a suite of dances. That form, along with the concerto, the Italian type concerto, became the two major instrumental forms of Baroque music. In Germany, you get a mixture. You get Bach and Handel and Telemann, and of course there were lots of others, Pisendel and Foch, and But basically, because you have those big 2 or 3, if you include Telemann, they dominate the German Baroque to such an extent that nobody else really matters. I mean, it's a pity because there's some wonderful other composers. There's Zelenka, who was actually Czech, and Bieber, who's early Baroque, and Muffat and those people. But the fact of the matter is that the French Baroque was a world unto itself. French music always was, because it was written for the court, for the king's court, and very centralized governmental and political unit, and so it had its own way of doing things, which successfully absorbed influences from everywhere else while remaining French. And so for the French Baroque, there's Rameau. I mean, Rameau was like the big one, and Chabrier, Charpentier. Forget Chabrier, Charpentier, and some people like André Campra, and of course Lully, who was Italian but who Frenchified himself, but he was earlier than most of the other ones. And there's Leclerc, and we have all these names, and they wrote tons and tons and tons of music. The original Hogwood's recording of this thing of the Elements was released with something by Destouches, another composer nobody heard of. And of course there was Philidor, the chess master. He was a chess master and a composer. And so the French Baroque is like a whole universe. And no one has time for it. I mean, maybe for Couperin, his keyboard music, stuff like that. There was a whole family of Couperins. There's Louis, and there's the other ones, and so maybe we have time for some of those people. Marin Marais, all the gamba players. I mean, goodness gracious, it's all been recorded. A lot of this stuff has been recorded, and a lot of this stuff hasn't, because there's just so much. There's just too much. I remember when reading an essay originally on the origins of the classical style by Tovey. He was talking about the Baroque period, and he says it's a very hard period to make sense of. He said because the sheer quantity of music that these people turned out was unbelievable. I mean, he said if you add the French clavecinists and other Baroque people, and the French opera, whatever they were, people, and all the German ones who were doing, because every court had its composers, and they were churning out music. I mean, we gasp at what Bach and Handel did, but however much they did, and Telemann, I mean, he was supposedly the most prolific composer who ever lived. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces. So we have to be picky. And one of the things we have picked is the Elements by Goebel. And if you don't hear anything else by Goebel, it's okay. You should not listen to this and then go on a jaunt trying to find all of the other stuff by Goebel for its fabulous uniqueness. This is individually unique, and the rest of his music is going to probably, I can't say because I haven't heard all of it, but probably conform to the general aesthetics of French Baroque music of the day, which was dictated by aristocratic taste. And if you did something programmatic like this, you had a one-off chance to be alarming and exciting and fascinating to modern ears. And that's what Goebel is. So go for Goebel and see what you think. And then we'll talk about more of this stuff at some point. I guarantee it, because, as Tovey said, the quantity is enormous. It's staggering. And so is the discography. Whew. Thank God I'm only 61. Anyway, thank you for listening, friends. Keep on listening, and take care.